Today we are going to talk about hypothalamus, right? All of you know that hypothalamus is a very important area of diencephalon, right? And major functions of the hypothalamus, basically it has three basic functions. Number one, that it is concerned with the limbic system. It's part of the limbic system. You know, limbic system is that part of the central nervous system which is concerned with your emotions, behavior, and recent memory. Secondly, hypothalamus is intimately related with the function of autonomic nervous system. And thirdly, hypothalamus is also a very important center in the central nervous system, which is having a very powerful influence on the endocrine system. So it is also having endocrine functions, right? So it has functions related with the part of the limbic system. So it is concerned with the emotions, behavior, and recent memory. Through the autonomic nervous system, it influences the sympathetic and parasympathetic output in the body. And through producing different releasing and release inhibiting factors for different hormones from the anterior pituitary and also releasing hormone through posterior pituitary, hypothalamus exerts a very powerful control on the endocrine system in the body, right? So before we really go into detail, first we will see exactly where the hypothalamus is situated in the central nervous system. Is that right? First of all, now we will discuss where exactly in central nervous system hypothalamus is present. After that, we will go into detail of hypothalamus. Now, if I draw central nervous system from the side, right, you know that here is your, what is it, midbrain, pons, medulla, right, spinal cord of course. And now, exactly where is hypothalamus? Let me tell you, just above the midbrain there is a structure called thalamus, a structure which is called thalamus, right? Now, actually, inferior to the thalamus, there is a sheet of gray matter. There is a sheet of gray matter which is going anteriorly and inferiorly from the thalamus. Is that right? And this structure, this sheet of gray matter, it is called hypothalamus, and it extends from midbrain, right, upper part of the midbrain up to the optic chiasma. It extends up to the optic chiasma, right? Or we can say from the optic chiasma, hypothalamus extend up to the, yes, what is this? Up to the midbrain, or we can say up to the interpeduncular fossa. And here the important structures related, there is a swelling on the undersurface of the hypothalamus, and from here the stalk and anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. This component is also the part of hypothalamus. Is that right? And there are bilateral swellings on posterior part, and this swelling is called mammillary bodies. And mammillary bodies are also part of hypothalamus. But pituitary stalk is not the part of hypothalamus. So actually, hypothalamus is this structure. From here, right? So what is this? Hypothalamus is mainly a sheet of gray matter extending from the optic chiasma backward up to the upper part of the midbrain, right? And under surface of the hypothalamus has one median swelling, one central swelling called tuber cinereum, and two swelling on the posterior part of the hypothalamus which can be visualized from inferior area, right? That is mammillary body. Is that right? This is one way to look at hypothalamus. Now, let me draw the structure of hypothalamus with a little more detail. let me draw here your third ventricle. You remember your third ventricle? This is the roof of the third ventricle, posterior wall of the third ventricle, right? Here it is floor of third ventricle. Is that right? And you must be knowing that there's one structure on this side of the third ventricle. What is it? Thalamus. Very good. There's another structure on this side of the third ventricle. This is the right thalamus. Is that right? So third ventricle is in between the thalami, but it extends forward beyond the thalami. Is that right? And you must be knowing what is the structure under here. What is it? It is midbrain, right? Pons medulla. Right, and already you know there is a which nucleus here? Habenular nucleus, and here the swelling backward. What is it? Pineal body. This is habenular commissure. Is that right? Now, in this diagram, now I will draw hypothalamus. Is that right? Hypothalamus extends from here. It's a sheet of gray matter which is extending forward from the thalamus. Now, from here, what are these two? Mammillary bodies, right? And actually third ventricle extends even much farther, much interiorly. Now look, hypothalamus is basically a sheet of gray matter around this part of third ventricle. So here, this is the third ventricle. Posteriorly, third ventricle is surrounded by thalami. Anteriorly and inferiorly, third ventricle is surrounded by hypothalamus. So we can say hypothalamus is a sheet of gray matter which is present on the lateral walls of the third ventricle and in the floor of third ventricle. So another way to look at hypothalamus is present in the lateral wall of third ventricle and inferior or the floor of the third ventricle. Is that clear? There is no problem here. Now, once you know exact position of the hypothalamus, you already know it was extending from here. What was the structure here? Yes, optic chiasma. And here it was upper part of midbrain or interpeduncular fossa. Is that right? Now, any question in this orientation? Now you can see another thing. The third ventricle is in between. Some part of the hypothalamus is on the right side of the third ventricle. Other part of the hypothalamus is on the left side of the third ventricle. It means hypothalamus has right area and left area. If someone can come here, yes, who want to come? Please come here. Let me give you an example exactly how is the hypothalamus. He is not hypothalamus. Right? No, look there, look there. Okay, yes. Now look. Make a structure like this. Right. Now what we can imagine, it should be like this. Okay, like this. Okay. Now, actually, this box is, what is this? This hand is thalamus. What is this part of my hand? Thalamus. So these are two, my hands are two thalami. Right? These are two thalami. In between, what is this structure? Third ventricle. And third ventricle having its lateral walls and the floor. What are these structures? Hypothalamus. So hypothalamus has right half and the left half. What is hypothalamus? Is a sheet of grey matter here and sheet of grey matter here, right? Surrounding interior part of the third ventricle. And what is the structure here?
Optic chiasma.
Optic chiasma. And now you come from here, from the optic chiasma. Suppose this was your eyeballs. Here come the optic chiasma. Right. Optic chiasma moves backward as optic tract. Now, from here, this is the under surface of, what is this? Under surface of hypothalamus. And this is ventricular surface of hypothalamus. This is the inferior surface of hypothalamus. Now, if you move in inferior surface backward, it make a central swelling like this. The central swelling is called tuber cinereum. The central swelling come down and make a longitudinal stalk. We call it infundibulum or posterior infundibulum or stalk of pituitary, which convert into anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. Then here was the tuber cinereum. And then you move a little more posteriorly, you will find that there is one mammillary swelling on the right side and other mammillary swelling is on the left side. So what are mammillary bodies? These are masses of grey matter which can be seen on the posterior part of hypothalamus from inferior aspect. And there are two swellings, one right mammillary body and the left mammillary body. So one central swelling, what is that? Tuber cinereum, and two paramedian swellings which are mammillary body. Is that right? Now, thank you. Now you will tell me what are the structure I'm going to tell you. Now if I say this is my right hand and this is my left, of course you are intelligent to understand it. Right. Now these two surfaces, this is making hypothalamus. Now what are the structure here and here? Thalami. Is that right? These are thalami. What is the structure crossing here? Optic chiasma. What is the central swelling here? Tuber cinereum going down as infundibulum and then anterior pituitary, posterior pituitary. And on the back there is a swelling here and there is a swelling here. What are these? Mammillary body. Just on the back, what is here? Midbrain. Any question about it? So you exactly know where is the hypothalamus present. And of course you can understand hypothalamus has left sheet and right sheet. Left side and the right side. Any question up to this? There is no question. Okay. You know, hypothalamus is very small area. The weight of hypothalamus is just 4 grams. 4 grams means it is equal to the nail of your little finger. But it influences every tissue from head to toe through autonomic nervous system and through endocrine system. Now you will recognize these structures. What is this? This is midbrain, and what is it under it? Pons. Superior colliculi inferior. Is that right? Now where is exactly hypothalamus in this relation? Look here. Hypothalamus will start from here, and from here it will extend of course I have made it out of proportion. Can you understand? What is the exact location of hypothalamus? That when you are going on the back, it is fusing with the midbrain. Is that right? Now this part of the midbrain is called interpeduncular fossa. So it is coming up to that. It is extending up to interpeduncular fossa. This is left side of the hypothalamus. This is the right side of hypothalamus. Any question here? There is no. Now I will draw the structures and you will name them. Why I'm putting so much time in orientation of where is hypothalamus, because in my career I came across many doctors who knew a lot about hypothalamus But if you ask them where in the central nervous system hypothalamus is, they start looking at your nose. Yes. They don't know. What is it? Mammillary bodies. Of course, this is from the top and this is from the side. And what is this structure? Yes, tuber cinereum. Very good. And what is this structure? Infundibulum. And this is posterior pituitary. Here is anterior pituitary. And what is this here? Third ventricle. Is that right? And this is which part of the hypothalamus? Left side. And this is right side. Any question up to this? And of course, you are so intelligent, you must be knowing that what is the structure here? Yes. Clear? No problem? Okay, from here, if I raise this area, okay, I will do that later. What is here? Thalamus. And what is this? This is, of course, this is the lateral wall of hypothalamus, or we can say actually this is hypothalamus on the left lateral side of the third ventricle. And if I make here this structure, do you understand what is it? And then, yes, what is this? Right half of the hypothalamus, left half of the hypothalamus, under surface of the hypothalamus. Any question? There's no question. Okay. Right. Now we will, if someone asks you that identify the understructures, what is this structure? Optic chiasma. What is this structure? Tuber cinereum. In that, this all is tuber cinereum. In the tuber cinereum, this swelling is called median swelling. What is it? Mammillary body. Is that right? No problem? Okay. After this, now we go into detailed structure of hypothalamus. Now I will draw on the board only hypothalamus, and we will see that what are the details of hypothalamus. Now, of course, you know what is it, right? There's no need to ask you again, I hope. Am I clear? And what was this? Third ventricle. Is that right? Now, you have to tell me what it is. Let's hope who can identify it. What is it? It is fornix. Now what we really see that fornix is originating from parahippocampal formation. In the parahippocampal formation, right, fornix derives most of its fibers from a special area which is called, that special area is called subiculum, right? From subiculum, a special area in parahippocampal formation, most of the fibers originate and they become the part of, yes, fornix. Is that right? And fornix, as it moves backward, then upward, and then forward, and then eventually downward, and it embeds into substance of thalamus. It enters into substance of thalamus. Is that right? And this, in the same way, this was the right fornical system. There is also, yes, left fornical system. And it embeds in which hypothalamus? Left side of the hypothalamus. Is this structure clear to your mind? What is happening? That parahippocampal formation gives rise to the fornix, which is a bundle of what? White. Of course, a bundle of white matter, right? And these neuronal fibers move from the parahippocampal formation backward, upward, forward, and eventually downward, and again backward, and it embeds into the hypothalamus. Of course, there is one right fornix and there is left fornix. Both of them enter into right and left part of hypothalamus. Now, within the hypothalamus, now listen very, very carefully. Yes, this is one mammillary body and this is other mammillary bodies. Is that right? Actually, once the right fornix enters to right side of the hypothalamus, then within the substance, it moves up to mammillary body. And now it has arrived into mammillary nuclei. This is the right side. In the same way, in the left side also, it passes through the substance of the hypothalamus and eventually it reaches, yes, where? Left mammillary body. Am I clear? And some of you must be knowing that there is a very important structure here. I will give it a different color, and this structure is, okay, I'll make it brown colored. And of course you will immediately recognize that structure, yes? Thalami, right? And you must be knowing that from the mammillary body, a very important relationship, yes? What is this? From the mammillary body, what is this pathway? Mammillothalamic fibers. And from here also, there will be, which fiber? Mammillothalamic fibers. Any question up to this? Now you may be wondering why I'm specially drawing this specially fornical system, that how parahippocampal system goes into mammillary body, and then from mammillary body there is mammillothalamic tract. What's the importance of this drawing? Actually, I want to tell you something very important, and that is that if you take that this is the middle of this is the right half of the hypothalamus, and here it is, what is this? This is the right half of the hypothalamus and this is the left half of the hypothalamus. Actually, where the fornix enters, it hypothetically divides the right hypothalamus into lateral and medial area. In the same way, left fornix divides the left side of the hypothalamus into medial and lateral area. Right? So what we can see here now, that this part of hypothalamus this part of the hypothalamus is called, yes, right medial hypothalamus. In the same way, there must be, what is it? Left medial hypothalamus. Is that right? So there's a right hypothalamus and there's left hypothalamus, right? And both hypothalamic substances are receiving the fornix and releasing what? Mammillothalamic tract. Is that right? Fornix and mammillothalamic tract divide the one side of hypothalamus into lateral area and medial area. Is that right? So here is your, what is it? This is right lateral hypothalamus. And what is this? This is left lateral hypothalamus. So what did we learn up to now? That hypothalamus is a sheet of gray matter on the interior part of lateral wall of third ventricles and also floor of the third ventricle. And hypothalamus is as right half and the left half. Is that right? And both half of the hypothalamus are divided into medial and lateral side by an imaginary plane which is demarcated by entrance of the fornix and exit of mammillothalamic tract. Any question up to this? Yes? There's no question? What do you think? In hypothalamus, the happiness area and sadness area? Or not? Yeah, it has some areas related with the emotion, reward centers and punishment centers. We'll talk about that later. Once we have learned up to now we'll go detailed structure of the lateral hypothalamus and medial hypothalamus.